is up, guys? EJ here, back with another video, and today it's time for another top 10 list. My top 10 films of 2005. A pretty good year for movies, in my opinion. All these films on this list are very good films. So let's get straight on with it. Counting down as always. At number 10, we have War of the Worlds, the remake of the 1953 classic sci-fi film. This one, of course, directed by Steven Spielberg. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really exciting, really fun. Well, not fun. It was just a good film. Great visual effects. I love sort of Spielberg's style for this type of movie. Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning star as a sort of separated family. Tom Cruise is babysitting his kids for the weekend. He's separated from his wife, and he goes to investigate strange happenings down the road. There's been some weird weather, thunder strikes are happening outside, and he goes to check it out. And of course, giant tripod-like vehicles emerge from the ground and start vaporizing everybody and everything in sight. I love how he returns back to the house and he's sort of covered in this ash, and it's obviously all the dust of all these people that have been turned to nothing. And of course, he has to escape with his daughter, played by Dakota Fanning, and his son. It's pretty harrowing in parts, and I just really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people didn't like this film. I thought it was great. I love the scene where they meet up with Tim Robbins and they're hiding out in his basement. And there's that scene where one of the aliens comes in and it goes all the way around searching for them. That's a really cool moment. Very tense. The stuff with the ferry is very cool. Just really scary in parts. There's some great shots of the river of floating bodies. And when Dakota Fanning wants to go take a leak, and they stop by the side of the road, and she goes down to the river and sees all the bodies floating by. There's a shot where there's a train just on fire, just goes zooming past. Very cool film. I love disaster, sci-fi, epic films like this, and War of the Worlds, a very good remake of a classic 50s sci-fi film. Okay, number 9, another film that did not get received very well, and I don't really understand why, because I loved it. And that's Elizabethtown, written and directed by Cameron Crowe, one of my favorite directors. A really good movie starring Orlando Bloom in one of his best performances, in my opinion. A sort of young, successful executive designer who gets fired from his job and finds out his dad has passed away on the same day. He returns back to his boyhood home in Kentucky. I believe it's Kentucky, or it's Louisville, something like that. What Louisville is in Kentucky, what am I saying? Kentucky, yeah. Elizabethtown, Kentucky. He goes back home to his father's funeral, and on the plane he meets a very positive and precocious Kirsten Dunst. I just love her in this film. I think it's her best performance. I just think she's fantastic in this movie. It's a great film about it's a great sort of love story, finding oneself, what's the meaning of life, and what's really important to people in life. Susan Sarandon is great as Orlando Bloom's mother. A great soundtrack. A lot of the movie is sort of based and focused on music. Kirsten Dunst sort of makes this map for Orlando Bloom to follow at the end, and it's all sort of accompanied by certain songs. Of course, Cameron Crowe is a great lover of music and very proficient when it comes to music in his movies. I just really loved it. I loved it. The final scene, towards the end, the Freebird scene, much like the Freebird ending in The Devil's Rejects, which came out the same year. Rob Zombie's awesome movie. Big Leonard Skinner fan, so I love that moment with the Freebird. It's a very funny scene, and yeah, just a very cool film, very romantic, and just really charming. And Kirsten Dunst and Orlando Bloom are great together in this movie. Okay, number 8, Brokeback Mountain. Of course, directed by Ang Lee. I mean, what can you say about this film except that it's brilliant and very surprising that it's sort of carried by a young cast, which I was sort of amazed at the time when it came out. Probably should have won Best Picture that year. Crash won, which is not on my list. It's a good film, but I don't love it, and I don't think people 10, 20 years from now will really remember Crash. But they'll always remember Brokeback Mountain for obvious reasons. If you really want to know why the loss of Heath Ledger was so tragic, check out his performance in this film. Of course, he and Jake Gyllenhaal play two sort of wandering cattle ranchers, cattle hands who get hired to tend 10 cattle high up in Wyoming, the mountains of Wyoming, and they're both married, but they sort of fall in love, have sex to stay warm at the campfire at night, and of course it goes on to their story of their secret love. Yeah, like I said, the young cast is brilliant. People like Anne Hathaway, Michelle Williams, what's her name? The girl from Freaks and Geeks, Linda Cardellini. Really very cute actress. I wish she would have gone on to do a lot more things because I think she's great. Very good looking girl. Randy Quaid also. Just a very good film. Beautiful music, the settings, the landscapes, just amazing. And Heath Ledger, just amazing performance. I didn't really think much of Heath Ledger as an actor, but when his death happened, I was really sort of emotionally hit by it, and I was really surprised. I never really thought much of him up until that point, and Brokeback Mountain is a great example of how good of an actor he could have been and was. So number 7, Walk the Line. Great film, great performance by Joaquin Phoenix as Johnny Cash, as is Reese Witherspoon as June Carter Cash. Just a beautiful film, sort of the biopic of Johnny Cash. Big fan of his music, mainly because of this film. Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix, great. Much like Ray from the year before, sort of the two biopics of great musical legends of the 50s and 60s. Of course, I believe Johnny Cash died before he had a chance to see this movie, or while it was filming, something like that. Yeah, just a great film if you like that type of music, or just the story of a legend like that. It's really a film everybody should see. Okay, number 6. Another film directed by Steven Spielberg that year, my favorite director. Like 2002, he had a great year in 2005. And that is Munich. Very good film, sort of action thriller, political. Of course, it centers on the story of Israeli operatives like the Mossad who want to take revenge for the 1972 Olympic Games in Munich, where 11 Palestinians sort of took hostage Israeli athletes, and they all died very tragically. It's a famous moment in Olympic history, very tragic. It really wasn't talked about in the recent Olympics in London, and I watched pretty much as much coverage as I could, and it was the 40-year anniversary of it. But this film stars Eric Bana, Daniel Craig, Kieran Hines, Jeffrey Rush, just a great cast. All these operatives who sort of go out to bomb and assassinate all the people responsible for that horrific crime. And it's very tense, great looking film, just a beautiful movie in my opinion. Munich by Steven Spielberg, just great. Okay, number 5, we have Sin City. Of course, directed by Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller, based on Frank Miller's awesome graphic novels. Guest spot director Quentin Tarantino, the awesome scene with Clive Owen and a dead Benicio del Toro with a gun barrel through his head. Just crazy. This film really sort of was sort of a landmark in the mid 2000s. I thought of the visual style, obviously the black and white, and mixed in with sort of bright bursts of color. Just a brilliant looking film. Great cast: Bruce Willis, Elijah Wood, Jessica Alba, Carla Gugino, Alexis Bledel, Devon Aoki, Michael Madsen, um, and of course the one who steals the show is Mickey Rourke as Marv, probably the coolest character in the whole thing. There's so many great people in this movie, like who else is in this? Jamie King, Brittany Murphy, Rosario Dawson, um, Michael Clark Duncan, Nick Stahl. Yeah, just an awesome film, and that's why The Spirit was so sort of disappointing. I was sort of expecting The Spirit to be much like Sin City, and it just wasn't. But Sin City is just awesome. Okay, number 4. Let's pick up the pace a little bit here, cause that's Jarhead, directed by Sam Mendes. This is a brilliant film. This film really got overlooked in 2005. Just a great film about a sniper in the Gulf War, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, the opening scenes of this movie are really funny, and then it really delves deep into sort of during the war there wasn't much to do. There was very little action for these ground troops. Just a very good cast again. Gyllenhaal, like I said. What's his name? Peter Sarsgaard, Jamie Foxx, Chris Cooper. I love movies about war, and much like Three Kings, this film about the Gulf War, just amazing. Sam Mendes, a great director, of course, who did American Beauty and Road to Perdition before this. If you haven't seen Jarhead, I highly recommend it. Okay, number 3. It's kind of obvious now that I love historical war epics, and Ridley Scott is one of my favorite directors. And so we have Kingdom of Heaven, just a beautiful, epic film. This is my favorite Orlando Bloom performance. It's a very noble performance by Orlando Bloom in this. Great cast includes Liam Neeson, Jeremy Irons, Gary Oldman, who's sort of unrecognizable, the lovely Eva Green, David Toulis. Just great people in this movie, and just epic, set during the Crusades. Orlando Bloom sort of has to protect the city of Jerusalem from the invasion of the Muslims. I guess they weren't Moors at that time. My history is a little foggy, but just a great film, great action scenes, battle sequences, and I do love big battles. Kingdom of Heaven is just a beautiful, epic film, and the director's cut is amazing, better than the theatrical cut. Okay, number 2. We have Cinderella Man, directed by Ron Howard, and of course starring Russell Crowe as Jim Braddock, boxer during the Depression, who helped lift the country. Much like Seabiscuit, another sports movie about a underdog who sort of lifts the spirits of the country at a time of great despair, the Great Depression. Renee Zellweger, very good as Russell Crowe's wife, and Paul Giamatti, very good as his trainer. Just a very good film. I love boxing movies. They sort of tend to make for great drama. Obviously Rocky and Raging Bull and so on. And I'd put Cinderella Man right up there. This is one of my favorite films of the decade. Big fan of Russell Crowe, who sort of hasn't done much recently that's really significant in my opinion, but early on in the 2000s he was like the dominant force when it came to leading men and leading roles. Cinderella Man's a great film. Okay, number 1, probably not a very popular pick. I'm getting the sense that most people don't like this film, and I don't get why. And that is King Kong, directed by Peter Jackson. I know everybody loves the original, and so do I. But I loved this film. I thought it was just amazing. And the main reason was Naomi Watts was just a lot more than Fay Ray's character in the original. Naomi Watts really creates this great sort of relationship with King Kong that's really quite subtle and quite beautiful and very tender, and it really sort of amazed me amidst all the great CGI effects on Skull Island. Of course, Jack Black plays a director who's sort of down on his luck, running out of money, being hounded by creditors and so on. Wants to go to this mysterious island that nobody's ever heard of and shoot this film. And he sort of grabs Naomi Watts off the street, an unknown, and of course they run into King Kong. The special effects are amazing. The model work that Weta does and all the stuff that sort of went with the Lord of the Rings movies is a lot of reasons why I love this film. The Lord of the Rings are my favorite films ever, and so it was sort of stood to reason that I love Peter Jackson's King Kong as well. I love the scenes with the V-Rexes, the fight with Kong and the three V-Rexes is just amazing and brilliantly. It was jaw-dropping when I saw it in the theaters. I'll put it that way. And the ending, of course, with the famous Empire State Building is just classic, and they recreated that very well. It's a really brilliant film in my opinion, and I've heard a lot of people just don't like it. Maybe it's too long, maybe they don't like Jack Black, but put that aside, I think it's just brilliant. King Kong, my number one film of 2005, and I didn't think it would take this long to do 10 movies, but these lists seemingly get longer and longer. So thank you for sticking with it, and as always, I'll see you soon.
Bond. James Bond.